Greetings and salutations. Second Star right back with more Raid Shadow Legends. On screen we have Vogoth from the Undead Hordes faction, epic champion, hit point based, and pretty good champion, I must say. Not a lot to look at. He uses the same skin as Corpulent Cadaver, who is notoriously hideous. And when I say same skin, I mean literally like the same pus-infused carbuncles ready to explode and spill all over his gluttonous. Anyway, he's nasty, disgusting, and I dig it. It's kind of cool. I also like the stains running down his eyes out of his death mask, which is more common in Knights Revenant than Undead Hordes, but sometimes they make an appearance here too. So anyway, he's I don't want to say he's a good-looking champion, but the design is fitting. Okay, so his skills: horrendous strength, attacks the enemy 3 times. Each hit has a 30% chance of increasing the duration of one random debuff on the target by 1 turn. And as you can see on his axe here, he's dripping some kind of I guess debuff extender fluid is falling off that, so that's a nice touch. Wave of Revulsion is his A2. It's an AoE. 60% chance of placing a provoke on all enemies for a turn. Also has a 60% chance of placing a 50% decreased attack debuff for 2 turns on targets who receive the provoke debuff from the skill. So anyone who's going to be attacking him attacks him not as hard the next turn. Okay, and then Festering Dynamo. Whenever the champion is attacked, heals all allies by 50% of the damage received. It only heals by 25% of the damage received from boss attacks, and it only receives half of the heal that all others allies receive. So if other allies he's healing them for, like, say 4k, he's getting 2k. Additionally, this is on a 4-turn cooldown, this Wave of Revulsion, which is kind of like his key skill. It's on a 4-turn cooldown. You can get it down to a 3-turn cooldown, but as you can see, I am book short, book poor, legendary book poor, and so I did not book this champion, although he would be great booked, I gotta say. This Wave of Revulsion going down 1 turn would be fantastic. Festering Dynamo, as I talked about, he also has an eerie presence. When attacked, places a leech debuff on the attacker for 2 turns. If the attacker is under a provoke debuff placed by that champion, also has a 70% chance of increasing the cooldown of random skill on the attacker by 2 turns. And that occurs once per attack. So again, you see a lot of skills that work really, really well together. All right, so I'll show you. I don't have his masteries set up. Well, actually, let's go over his gear first. Have him with 3 sets of life gear, some immortal, and then of course some decent jewelry, hit points, and accuracy. So we can place those all important debuffs, right? And we'll see his total stats. He's hit point based again, so he's pretty full up in his hit point meter there. Low on attack, mid-range in defense. You don't want to stack defense on this guy because you kind of want him to take damage, right? Because it's the amount of damage received, is what his heals are based on, right? So you don't want to mitigate too much damage, right? So you don't want to stack a lot of defense on the guy. Even maybe consider what kind of team composition you're using. If you're using a lot of attack downs, using a lot of defense ups, that's actually going to impact the heal, which could be fine if you're mitigating enough damage to make up for it, but just keep that in mind as you're building your team. 65% crit rate, which is pretty high for a hit point based champion, but I wanted to see if he could dish out a little bit too. 82 resist and 235 accuracy. Again, a little bit on the low side, but that's the gear I had at the time. And of course, he has his aura is accuracy and all the buffs. I don't think I went over that. Yeah, his aura has all accuracy, all ally accuracy by 40. So you could use him as leader and make up for some of that accuracy deficiency if you're focusing more on your hit points. All right, let's go back and find him again because I exited out for some unknown reason. Okay. Now masteries. Now this is tricky. Okay, you could of course conceivably go down the attack tree, offense tree if you wanted to, and get the Giant Slayer, so you can dish out some more damage if you wanted to. But I think this is a pretty good setup for this champion. Defiant. So I rather than going with defense, with the tough skin. Again, I don't want to mitigate that much defense, so I'm focusing more on his hit points, right? So increasing the amount of healing he gets, heals a champion every time an enemy is healed. This one, the delay death, again, this is more of a damage mitigation thing, which you're not necessarily looking for, but I definitely wanted to get down onto these remaining ones here, where it decreases the damage an ally receives from the first enemy hit in each round by 20%, and the champion receives that damage instead. I mean, he's got a decent hit point pool. You might as well do it. So Selfless Defender, I think, is a good choice here. Cycler Revenge, not super important, but it was either that or Retribution, and I thought he wasn't going to be losing 25% of his max hit points very often, so I went with Cycler Revenge instead, so I could get to Fearsome Presence, make sure I'm placing those provokes, because the ones in the support tree do not work. They won't place a provoke. They'll place the leech, so they'll help with the leech, but they won't help with the provoke. So if you want to, I think since provoke is kind of his thing, you want him to be hit. Fearsome Presence is a really important mastery, tier 6 mastery for this particular champion. Over on the support side, gave him some more base hit points there. I know everyone's used to seeing accuracy here, but I just didn't think it was as important as him, getting hit and really getting his heals taken care of, right? I think focusing on that is important. You could go to the accuracy too to make sure that you're placing the provoke so that he's gonna get the heals off, but I thought if you have enough accuracy, you can go the healing route instead. So that's the way I did it, and it works pretty good. Okay, increases the value of heals this champion casts by 5%. Increase the amount of healing, the value of shield buffs placed by the champion by 10% if the target has 40% hit points or less. And that's a nice stack right there. And then the amount of healing and the amount of shield buffs placed with the champion by 15% if they're under, stun, sleep, fears, true fear, or freeze. Right now, so then I went down the Exalt in Death, another heal, accuracy by 4 for each enemy alive. That's really good in the waves, and that's when you really need your accuracy anyway. So I kind of think that that's better even than Charged Focus. Of course, Lore of Steel to get a little bit more out of my life gear, and then Sniper. This only affects a leech, and then I think in this iteration of the champion, it doesn't even affect that. So I think this might have been a mistake on my part. I might have been better off to go with Master Hexer. There's some debate because on his A3, if I can go over to his skill section, not his A3, his Eerie Presence that places the leech. When attacked, just places the leech for 2 turns. So it has a chance to be resisted then. So I don't know if Sniper is going to be factored into that or not. There's some debate over whether it is or not. I don't think Plarium has said definitively. Some people say, yeah, it helps. Other people say, no, it doesn't. So I don't know. I don't have the right answer. But I think that it might have been better off for me to go Master Hexer and just try to extend it once it's landed rather than not knowing if it's going to be contributing to the chance of it landing or not. Or being resisted, I guess. Okay, so let's go on. Where is this champion useful? The only place that I find he's difficult fit is Spider, because there's a couple different ways to beat Spider, and it's either you avoid getting hit completely, or you put up massive shields from like Miscreated Monster or some other shield champion, but usually Miscreated Monster, and you're not taking damage. You're just the shields are getting hit. And his whole thing is he needs to take damage for him to heal. So if you're not taking damage, he's pretty useless. So he's not a really good fit for Spider. But I've taken him other places, and he's worked really, really well. It was a little bit difficult for me to get him into Fire Knight with my specific champions that I have built. So I had a hard time getting Fire Knight. It got it done, but I had to manual the last stage because I just couldn't get it quite right. Because I couldn't do it on level 20 because Allure was getting destroyed. He just isn't strong enough to be like the primary healer. I was trying to do it as him as the only healer, right? So I took out Apothecary and I put Vogoth in instead. And it was a difficult proposition at best to make that happen. Meaning I couldn't do it. If I went to stage 21, so it was an opposite affinity for Allure, then I worked better, but I still had to manual the boss. So it took like 15 minutes to finish the fight, and that's no fun for anyone to watch. So I did not. I'm not going to go over that today. But let's see what I do have. So to that point, he's a really, really good healer, but I don't know if he could do it by himself. I mean, it depends on your gear and on your champions and your team composition, of course. All these things matter, but just sticking him on a team, unless they're super OP, is going to be tough. So if we want to talk about a team that's super OP, this is my super OP dragon team. This is a pretty decent team. And as you can see, I have no defense teams. I have no support other than Vogoth. It's just Luthia in her extra crit rate, leading the team, Draco, Ignatius, and Zavia. And of course, Zavia and Dracomorph are an insane combination, right? So going through these 2 waves, Vogoth doesn't even get hit, I don't think. So he doesn't heal the other champions at all. And we get through without much problem because everyone's just so badass at their jobs. But once we get to the boss, he does pay his rent a little bit here. As we can see, if the dragon ever gets a opportunity to take a turn, which he will because you can't manipulate dragon's turn meter, so of course he's going to attack. Okay, so let's see. There we go. Alright, so there we go. He was able to heal, and the heal was actually really good. He healed over 10,000 on each champion. So stacking all those masteries, making it so that he doesn't have too high of a defense, so he can actually take some damage with a big enough hit point pool to push it all back to his team, makes for a pretty good combination. As you can see, he healed for 101, which again isn't a lot, but the fight was a minute and a half long, so he didn't have much opportunities. And like you said, that's only on the boss. He didn't do anything pretty much for the waves. Well, he heals himself a little bit on the waves, but not from his abilities, but just from drips from his masteries. Okay, let's move on. What else do we have here? We have ice golems. Okay, now this is key too. So remember, ice golems 20 have the terror beasts, which tend to kick everyone's ass, which is why we need a reser most of the time, is to get through the second phase of waves, because they're using reflect damage on the whole team, so anyone who's doing a lot of damage or AoEing kind of gets rocked by them, right? So usually, through no fault of your own, you're just doing your job, trying to deal damage, and by the time you're able to do stage 20 with relative ease, you're pretty strong. So a lot of times it happens where you kill yourself from the terror beast reflecting damage back at you. But here he was able to throw off his provoke right away and provoked both the terror beasts, and he's able to both lay down heals and make it so that the terror beasts don't have an opportunity to put up their reflect damage. So that was awesome. That's a really, really cool if you can get an AoE provoke right away on the terror beasts, and then have the DPS necessary to dispatch them and move on to the next level. Cold Heart gets rocked, but that's okay. We got a reser. I brought Caden. And let's see. So Cold Heart is back in action. And there we go. There's a nice timely heal to get Cold Heart back up, and she's in lifesteal gear, and Draco's in lifesteal gear. No one else is. Oh, Chani's in lifesteal gear too. She's usually in toxic, but I have not reset her from when I made the video last week. And Chani is amazing. She's such a fun champion, but she's still in lifesteal too. So actually, Vogoth isn't really doing all of the work here. We do have lifesteal gear in action here a little bit, and that's an important thing. As I was saying before, my reser's down. So come on, guys, let's stick to it. And Draco, I think in this fight, Dracomorph is the only one left alive, and takes the fight to the Frost Knight all by himself. Ice Golem. All by himself, because Draco's crazy. He's crazy good. There was a post that one of my friends and subs made on Facebook saying how everyone should have Draco, was indispensable, and saying, no, Draco's in my vault, he's too squishy. That has not been my experience. My experience with Dracomorph, in lifesteal gear anyway, can hold his own just about anywhere. If he's the last champion standing in a lot of dungeons, just him versus the boss, with those 4 with the 4 poisons, he can usually win the day in the end. And I've seen it many times in Dragon. In fact, back before my team had Zavi on it, Draco would frequently be the only one left alive. It would just poison the dragon to death, and I wouldn't have to worry about it. So, and here we go. It shows again Draco kind of comes through with 2 million damage. But if you look at Vogoth, he did a decent amount of healing, 260. Again, Cold Heart, Draco, and Chani. Let's see if we can see how much Chani heals herself. I'll make myself a bit smaller just temporarily. 423. So yeah, she did a lot of healing on her own. But Vogoth, every time the boss hits, he's going to heal, and some of these heals can be really significant depending on what damage is being put out. And of course, bosses tend to hit pretty hard. So even though it's only 25% of the damage for bosses, it's still a pretty good ratio. Okay, what else do we have here? This is okay. So here's him in arena, and this is a massive bit of nuking going on at the very beginning, and we are able to eat it because Vogoth is healing so much. Let's look at it again. Shut off. Okay, so they're coming in hard. They are coming in hard. All right, but watch. Okay, I still have the heals up because Hope has a shield set. But look at all that heals come up. I mean, that's a lot of healing, right? And it keeps all of our champions upright. Pretty impressive. Now, we did take a lot of debuffs. Okay, so that's an issue. I don't have a debuff remover on this team. So we are going to be dependent on Tormund, who is, in an immunity set to kind of carry the day until our debuffs expire. All right, and I was a bit slow here because I was kind of distracted when I was making this video, when I was doing this battle, to be honest. House full of kids. What are you going to do? So let's see. I think it's all academic at this point, right? They're not going to be able to turn this around. But here's the thing. When Martyr is a big part of a lot of my teams, and Vogoth is a lot of fun to use, but they're hard to use together because they both have taunts and provokes. So sometimes Martyr's provokes and Vogoth's provokes are in conflict with each other, especially on my team since my Martyr's booked and my Vogoth is not. So Martyr is provoking more often than Vogoth is. So a lot of the times, and hers is, since it's booked, and she has better gear, she's taking the brunt of the damage. But occasionally Vogoth will land a provoke too, and as we saw, he was just able to throw some heals out there. But having a really good Martyr and a good Vogoth on the same team can cause some conflict. Both of them want to show off, I guess, and pull their weight. All right, it's all over but the crying mostly. There's another good heal, and as you can see, it can even heal under the shields, right? So, all right, come on, let's get Ugo out of there. Oh, nice weak hit. Come on, there we go. Okay, so Ugo's down, and now we're just got to get the angel out of the way. Nasty for an angel, I've got to say. What did I do? I don't think I deserve this treatment. Come on, hurry up and win. I want to show how much healing Vogoth did. Okay, come on. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Just take out this one guy. You can do it. You can do it. Come on, almost there. God, he's tough. Come on, guys. Actually, my team doesn't do a lot of damage. It's definitely a war of attrition team. I will outlast you. Okay, so tap to continue, and as we can see, as you can't see, but as you will see shortly, Vogoth did 218, it's almost 219,000 healing, which is a lot, I think, for PvP. So let's move on. I think we have another fight to see real quick. Another one with a serious amount of nuking in the beginning. Well, maybe not a serious amount. Oh, right. I want to show Biggin. He is notorious for dealing out a lot of damage and having, a good, strong 2-hit attack. And as you can see, his 2-hit attack, that one, we had shields up. So let's see if we can do it again. Okay, here we go. Well, look, we just heal through Biggin's attack, right? So Vogoth is a really good foil to those multi-attack teams because he heals the heals on the last bit of the attack, but when they're super strong like Biggin, you can get nice big heals too. So as long as you don't die through the initial wave of attacks, you're going to be okay. Alright, and Vogoth here, he did 70,000. Right, and he also did 50,000 damage, which isn't bad given his, HP-based physique. Alright, so a couple things about Vogoth. He's a really good support healer, secondary healer. He can't carry a lot of stuff himself for the long term because, again, someone's home. So the damage coming in is always less than you're getting, of course. So he really needs to land his provokes so that he can get hit, and then heal up the rest of the team. But he needs kind of a way for himself to heal as well, or a really, really big hit point pool, because he's only healing for half of what he's healing everyone else. So that's just something to consider, something to remember. Remember how the mitigation, don't have too high defense, don't have a lot of defensive buffs, a lot of attack downs. You're going to want to balance mitigation with healing, right? And that way you can outlast pretty much any opponent if you have it set up just right. I think in the end, Vogoth is a really fun champion, really worthwhile. I think he's worth booking. Again, it's a lot of books, but it's also not a lot of books because it's only 2 skills. So even though those 2 skills require an extra book, I think I think he's worth it. I kind of like Chani is worth booking. I think Vogoth is worth booking as well. Again, I'm just book poor. It's the curse of being a small channel. We in not having access to the test server and not having as many resources. I can't do it all. I wish I could. But I think that this gives you a good enough idea of what his capabilities are. Alright, so thanks. I appreciate your watching. If you enjoyed it, throw me a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe. That'd be fun. And comment down below if you have any other ideas. If you have some experiences with Vogoth or anything like that, I want to hear from you. So thank you very much, and I will see you next time. Take care, guys. Bye.